And now, live from Sharp Facets Gallery, it's time for the I Love Ann Show.
Oh, that's right. It is time for the I Love Ann Show, and I have a very special guest, one of the most popular out there on all the big stations and everything, and I have him right here on the line with me, Senator Jim DeMint. How are you doing this morning, Senator?
Ann, I'm doing great, and good morning to all the folks in the Greenwood area. It's great to be back on your show.
It is great to have you back on the show. You know, I heard your speech at the Tea Party down there in Myrtle Beach for the Republican Convention, and you said that coming to the Tea Party and being around South Carolina just energized you. And how was CPAC this weekend for you?
Well, it was a little bit of the same, although it's always a little better to be back home in the state. But CPAC had about 10,000 people from all over the country who were committed to limited government, and I had a chance to give the opening speech to CPAC, and people seemed real energized. And the good news, Ann, is while the Tea Party and the activists are not out rallying in the streets, they've put down their picket signs and they're organizing. And what I hear from a lot of the outside groups like Freedom Works and Heritage Action and a number of others is that their membership rolls are swelling. People are joining organizations and trying to get a little bit more political power in this election year. So I think people know that it really could be our last chance to turn things around. And so, as you know, I'm talking a lot about now or never and what we need to do to make sure we win in 2012.
Well, Senator DeMint, I was interested, when did you decide to write this book, Now or Never?
Well, it was really about this time last year when all the facts were coming together with the debt and what was happening in Europe. And if you look at the electorate of the number of people who are getting something from government, and this administration seems to be pushing more and more people on food stamps and on the government dole, I became very concerned and started collecting a lot of facts about where we really were as a country, and then decided in the summer that I needed to try to put something out that would be a playbook for anyone who was interested in what we needed to do as a country to turn things around. And so the book does have a first chapter about how much trouble we're in. That's kind of the bad news. But the rest of the book is on what makes this country exceptional, how can we restore those things that make us great. And I think it's an optimistic book in the sense that the answer is really in the hands of the people. We saw that a little bit in 2010 when Americans came together and showed their discontent with the direction of the government. But the whole point of the book is we need to double those efforts in 2012 and not only win the presidency with a good president, but we need to win the Senate, because the Senate has been the obstacle to actually doing anything good for many, many years.
Well, not only that, you have the president's budget comes out today. And, of course, the Senate, we just don't seem to get anywhere on this. What do you think about the president's budget today? I've heard a lot about what's going to be in it.
Well, we've gotten an outline, and we know it's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the sense that the president's saying he's reducing the deficit. But he's counting things that we've already counted in the sense of what we're going to save on the Iraq War, on the Afghanistan War by coming out of that. These were things that have been planned for years, even before he was president. But he's counting savings. And when he says he's going to reduce the deficit, a lot of people think that means we're going to reduce the debt. All that means is we're going to slow the growth of our debt. And so what he's doing is he's not really cutting any programs, no wasteful programs. He still wants to pay for abortion. He still wants to pay for just a lot of things that we don't have to do at the federal level. But we're going to continue to grow the debt by probably over $1 trillion a year, even though his budget may say it's a little bit less than that. But the point in the book Now or Never is there's not that much money in the world to borrow anymore. We can't double our debt in the next 10 years unless we just print the money. And unfortunately, we've been printing the money to buy our own debt for the last 2 years.
And what do you see? What do you see, Jim, if President Obama is reelected?
Well, I don't like to think about that because I really don't think our country can continue to go in this direction and then look anything like America in over 4 years, because he seems to be driving us towards a European-style, top-down, very collectivist, socialist type of country where the government is controlling most aspects of our private sector economy. And we see where that leads us. We see it in Greece and really throughout Europe. You just can't, your economy first doesn't work when you try to manage it from Washington. And we don't have the money to create the welfare state that he seems to be driving towards. So I don't like to think about that option, but the reason I'm working so hard on electing conservatives to the Senate is that if he is reelected, the only backstop we have is the Senate to stop bad legislation from going through. So I'm hoping we can get at least a conservative majority in the Senate and keep it in the House. And so if we've got a Republican president, then we can start moving in the right direction. If we still have Obama in the White House, hopefully we can stop him from doing too much more damage to the country.
Now I know that your book, Now or Never, it is a playbook, but and I know it's been well received out there. How are the sales of the book?
Well, it's going real well. I mean, we had a book signing at CPAC, and folks seemed real excited about digging in because we've got a couple of chapters on what individuals can do, what they can do from their home. You know, there's a lot people can do with phone calls and emails and calling into radio talk shows because what we found in the last election is radio talk show hosts around the country and their listeners were a big part of the effort to change things. And if we can just get those who are already active to help engage a few more, because a lot of Americans who are busy with life and family don't have time for politics, and we're just pleading with them in this book to come help us save our country.
Absolutely. And one more question: cut, cap, and balance. Any possibility there's going to be an amendment on the November ballot?
On what?
Is there cut, cap, and balance? Is there any possibility that that'll make it onto the ballot in November?
I don't think so, not with Harry Reid as majority leader. It passed the House rather easily. It even had some Democrats support it. It's common sense that we need to cut some spending now. We need to cap it over 10 years. And we need to have a constitutional amendment that forces us to balance our budget. And we're going to keep pushing that idea because if we don't stop spending more than we're bringing in, we're going to bankrupt our country. And hopefully we can do that sooner rather than later.
What would actually bankrupting the country mean, Jim?
It's another thing I don't like to think about because we don't actually know how that would play. The reason our economy is still as strong as it is people have confidence in our ability to pay our debt and that the dollar is good. But that's just faith. There's nothing really backing up the dollar. And so if at some point people lose faith in our dollar, then the dominoes start falling, and there's no one to bail us out. That we need to remember that the countries of the world are not going to come together to bail the United States out. So if with all the debt we have with China and Japan and other countries, if they stop buying our debt or even start selling our debt at less than it's worth, you could see a collapse in the dollar, and that would mean everything we buy would cost a lot more. So everything people work and save could almost overnight be gone, or at least greatly diminished. And again, I don't want to think about that, but if we keep spending more than we're bringing in, sometime in the next few months or years, the dollar's going to begin a huge decline. And the only reason I think that we're doing as well as we are now is the euro is in such trouble that money from Europe is still coming to America and coming to the dollar.
Well, words of uplifting optimism that you can give us for the future?
Well, yeah, I can, and that's really what Now or Never is about, because we need to remind Americans that this country doesn't belong to politicians. It's a nation of and for and by the people. We were told when our country was formed that we had a republic if we could keep it, and that was a comment towards the people. And so what I'm trying to tell people that this country is certainly could be better than it's ever been before, but not if the politicians run it. It's got to be run by the people, and we need average, everyday Americans who are voting, who are informed, who are getting involved in the political process at the local, state, and federal level. And we can be better than we've ever been before, but not if we leave it in the hands of Washington politicians.
Well, Senator DeMint, it certainly is nice to have you on the air with me in 2012, and I certainly hope that we do have some good news. Everybody needs to get out there and read that book, Now or Never, and we may even see about getting Senator Jim DeMint here to Greenwood, South Carolina. Senator DeMint?
Yes.
Yes, I was saying we're even going to try to see if we can get you here to Greenwood, South Carolina.
Well, you can count on that, and I'll get to work on it right away, okay?
All right. Thank you so much, Senator Jim DeMint. You have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.